This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you work your A-game. A-man, no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This is an A-game, better bring your A-game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you work your A-game. A-man, no rain from...
Hey, now it's the Mike and JD show, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert. And hold on, let me remove this picture. This made me laugh. And I'm joined as always by JD by Godoliva. How you doing, JD?
Which one of us is Drake and which one of us is Mahomes? I just gotta ask the question.
Yeah, not touching that one, but
is that Midjourney? Did you pick that up? Did you pull that on Midjourney? Did somebody else create that?
Somebody else created. I saw it on Twitter. So
it's pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
I don't know that you can do so. That if you're listening to this, sorry, that's bad radio. We're also a video podcast. We're audio only. We're audio for some people too. That was a picture of Pat Mahomes and Drake, not crying. I guess it could have made one that said they were crying, but kind of consoling each other.
It was somber.
After they both got ripped to shreds tonight by their hated enemies.
Sorry, I missed the game. Actually.
Yeah. So you were being a responsible adult and you actually did homework tonight instead of watching the Super Bowl.
I mean, like, I kind of gave up on football like about a decade ago. Like, I remember I was just talking to my wife about this because we had a kids tournament today, and I was talking to my female friends, and she's like, "Oh, what are you doing for the Super Bowl?" And I'm like, that's today. Like, I literally had no idea that the game was going on because this is state wrestling season time for both like the little kids and the high school kids. So I'm like locked in on wrestling, and like I didn't even think about it. And as my wife was talking to her, and she's like, "Yeah, JD, about 10 years ago, he was miserable watching the Bears," and she's like, "You let this ruin your whole day." And I remember the next day I was listening to sports talk radio, and it was just call after call after call bitching about the Bears. And I'm just like, you know what? I give this way too much control over my life. I'm done. And I literally stopped. And I think that day I put on the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast for the first time. And my life has been downhill ever since.
Yeah. Hey, Stone Cold had a good podcast, man.
Sure, I really fucking did.
I really liked his show.
Yeah, so I did homework all day today because I had to get it done. I was telling you before the show, like, okay, so I first of all, I apologize. Last week, apparently, I was very negative. I got a couple emails from people who are like that. You're so negative now, blah blah blah, and they weren't wrong. They aren't wrong. I'm definitely going through a fallow period of my fandom at the moment, so I'm gonna try real hard to be better. So I'm gonna apologize about that first of all, but So today, like I in life right now, like I'm at high school. I'm at the school from 7 a.m. to about 9. I get home about 9 p.m. right every day with practice slammed. And like I'm doing grad school last semester, and I take one more class, and I get an email from my teacher. She's like, "You're a really good writer, but you need to try harder." And I wanted to go, "Bitch, you have any fucking clue what I'm like, how much you get just enough of my attention to survive." Like I was infuriated. So I took Super Bowl Sunday and I went to Panera and I worked on my homework because I'm a freaking nerd.
Man, the game, well, it was a massacre.
Was it?
It was the Eagles won 40 to like 13 or something. It was bad.
Oh, wow.
The Eagles, so the Eagles defensive line, I don't know if they can give an MVP trophy to an entire defensive line, but they beat the holy shit out of Patrick Mahomes.
That's awesome.
Mahomes, he threw 2 interceptions. He threw a third one, but it got called back. They sacked him ungodly amount of times. I don't know how many times they sacked the guy. He just couldn't get anything done. It wasn't until the second half, until the game was already over, that he threw a couple of touchdowns. But before that, he didn't even get like 100 yards of offense up until like the fourth quarter. So, the Eagles, they did a good job of getting rid of some of their older defensive line players and drafting young guys. And now they have like a young stacked defensive line. They're big. They beat the shit out of everybody. And they really exposed just how poor the Kansas City offensive line is, because they couldn't stop a nosebleed. It was like they were just kind of like, yeah, you know what? You can just have Mahomes. He'll just figure it out and throw a touchdown, which is what he normally does. But against this defense, he wasn't able to do that. So it was a complete ass kicking from the moment the game started until the moment it finished. In fact, there was like 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I was like, well, I don't care about either of these two teams. I hate them both. I was hoping that Mahomes and Jalen Hurts would not like blow a knee, but like turf toe, something that just would like ruin their off season to where they could stay out of shape, something like that. That's what I was hoping for. No, nobody got hurt, so good, I guess, but for me, bad. But it was a complete ass kicking the whole game, man. These Eagles, I hate to say it because unfortunately we have a lot of our listeners, a lot of them are scumbags, and they're big Eagles fans. They're from Philadelphia. God, Illa, Dobby, the Brain Heat, and Pat Kruthmel, Billy from Philly, my guy that joins me every Saturday morning on a Brace for Impact. We got a ton of just really awful people that like the Eagles that listen to our show, and there's nothing I hate in this world more than seeing my friends happy when it comes to sports. I like to see them miserable.
Me too.
So, yeah, like when I know you probably don't follow basketball, but last week Luka Doncic got traded from the Dallas Mavericks to the Los Angeles Lakers, and it just warmed my heart to see how miserable my friend Lucha Doncic was from our old Brace for Impact chat. So unfortunately, I got a lot of friends of mine and family members even that are happy, so that sucks.
I understand. Like I'm from Chicago, and I hate the Cubs more than anything in the whole world. So nothing makes me happier than to see my friends and family suffer when the Cubs are doing poorly. So I get it.
Yeah. And they're probably happy to see you suffer knowing that the White Sox broke the record for most losses in a single season, right?
Here's the problem is that White Sox fans have a huge chip on their shoulder about the Cubs, and the Cubs don't really care about the White Sox at all. So it's even worse than that. They don't even think about me.
It's kind of like a Dodgers and Angels type of thing. Cause like Angels fans hate the Dodgers, but somebody's asked me, do you hate the Angels? It's like, no, I don't. Like Mike Trout's a good player, but I don't really think about the Angels too much. Now the San Francisco Giants. Yeah.
That's how it is here. It's like, do you hate the White Sox? Like, I hate the Cardinals. Like, what Cub fans hate the Cardinals. I don't think much about. Like, you'll get some like South Side, North Side rivalry stuff, but in reality, it doesn't really matter. When I was a kid and the White Sox were really good in the '90s, like when they had Frank Thomas, that was a squad. Jack McDowell pitching. Like, those were good White Sox teams. And back when it was really hard to get in the playoffs when they had two divisions, so like it was fun then. Now it's not so fun.
So
fun
so Dr. Dre wore a White Sox hat in one of his music videos back in the 90s. He even has a lyric pointing to his White Sox hat. So it was really popular in my middle school for people to wear a White Sox hat. So my buddy Danny had a White Sox hat, and he left it on the table at school, and I grabbed a Sharpie and I blacked out part of the O. That way it looked like sex on it. And then he was walking around and it said sex on his hat. And like somebody told him, and I was laughing my ass, dude. That brother came home and told my mom, dude. I was like, I got so much heat over that and it was like probably a $25 hat, which in 1994 or whatever it was, that was a lot of money.
A lot of money. So when I was probably 11 years old, one of my best friends got really mad at me. I forget why. And he was bigger than me, and he held me up at against my back door. I remember this, with a pocket knife against my throat. And he said, if you tell anybody, I'll come back. So I did what any reasonable 11-year-old would do. And I went and told his mom, and he got his ass handed to him. And I remember the bus next, he's like, why'd you tell my mom? And I remember yelling, good. I'm glad your mom beat your ass. You deserved it.
It's like, bro, you pulled a knife on me. Of course I'm telling you.
Yeah, we're still friends to this day. And I'm like, why did you do that? He's like, it was a pocket knife. It wouldn't have done anything. I'm like, you still put a knife to my neck, you fucking sociopath.
Yeah, you could still kill somebody with a pocket knife.
Yeah,
for sure.
Asshole, Brian, if you're listening, fuck you.
I think the biggest story, other than the fact that the Chiefs' offensive line was completely exposed, they've been wretched for a long time, but Patrick Mahomes is so good, like no one really knew. They finally got a glimpse of just how bad that line is today. But I think the biggest story coming out of the Super Bowl is Kendrick Lamar utterly destroying Drake once again. I saw a headline on Twitter. Somebody screenshotted an old Fox News headline that said, "Elephant kills woman, leaves, and then returns to attack her body during her funeral." Like, that's kind of what happened with Kendrick Lamar tonight. And my wife was sitting next to me, and I'm like, he's not up to the song yet because Drake is suing him right now, by the way, for calling him a pedophile in a song. Like, the most popular one, probably going to go down as one of the most popular rap songs of all time.
Yeah.
like, and as far as diss tracks, number 2 behind Tupac's diss of Biggie, obviously. But this is going to go down as one of the biggest rap songs of all time, and it has a line in there saying that Drake's a certified pedophile, which is fucking brutal, man. Which is like, like, Drake, why would you pick a fight with this guy? Like, he will go to any length to get at you. And so he's building up to Not Like Us. And I'm like wondering, like, is he actually going to do the song? I assumed he would, but like after a while, it's like maybe he won't actually do the song. And then at one point he teased it saying, no, but people like to sue. And then he kicked into another song. And then towards the end of the halftime show, he's like, screw it, kicks in a Not Like Us, crowd goes insane. And then he gets to the part where he's about to diss Drake. And he's like walking across the screen. He's got this big grin on my face. He goes, say, Drake, I hear you like I'm young. I was like, oh, damn it. He's looking right in the camera. And then they pan over to Serena Williams, who's Drake's ex-girlfriend. And she's doing a crip walk on stage. And he just won the Grammy for that song. It's the greatest moment in Super Bowl halftime show history. Like, nothing will ever come close to it.
So imagine you're Drake, right? Your worst enemy wins the biggest honor in music, right? For ripping on your ass. And then he does it at the Super Bowl, and you just have to sit there and take it.
Yeah. Like, and he not only that, he brings your ex-girlfriend on stage to do a crip walk, dancing on your grave.
Yeah. I mean, bad.
It's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. I was like, and then the best part is me trying to explain what just happened to my wife, who only listens to like Christian gospel music. Like, she knows nothing. She doesn't know who Kendrick Lamar is. She knows who Drake is because he's been around for a long time, but she has no idea who Kendrick is. And so me explaining to her like what he was saying and why he said it, and she goes, he called him a pedophile. I was like, well, on this show, he didn't say the word pedophile. But she goes, why would he call him that? I go, he might be one. I don't know.
Possible. Like,
she goes, well, what if he's not? And I go, well, then Drake's got a hell of a lawsuit on his hands. And so they're going to figure that out in court.
I mean, it's probably going to wind up settling, and Drake's going to look like a bigger bitch in all of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he just lost that whole thing. Like, Kendrick Lamar is way better at this shit than he is. Like,
yeah. Drake should have stuck to pop music.
Really should have. He's not good at it.
He went out. He's from fucking Toronto, and he went after a dude from Compton. Like, those guys from Compton don't play. Like, we know those. Like, we grew up listening to the guys from Compton and what they're all about. They don't fuck around. And now Drake or Kendrick is just a younger version of those guys from that same city. And Toronto Drake that did like, what was the name of Degrassi High?
Degrassi High. That's what it is. Degrassi Drake.
Yeah, Degrassi Drake picks a fight with Kendrick Lamar. Like, what in the world is wrong with you? You know you ain't like that guy, and that's why the song's "They Not Like Us," because you know these rich kids from Toronto fucking with kids from Compton doesn't work out well for you.
That's very, very. I mean, this is what you come for. Listen to a bunch of 40-year-old guys talk about rap music. That's why everyone's here.
Yeah.
So, but it's for not knowing a whole lot, just listening to the kids in class talk about this. It's pretty goddamn funny.
Yeah.
Goddamn funny.
Yeah. My airmen think that this is the greatest like rap battle that's ever happened in history. And I'm like, this was a one-sided beatdown.
People killed each other in our day.
Yeah.
Like let us not forget that.
Yeah. You know, it's like, hold on, let me explain to you about Tupac and Biggie.
Yeah, that was
oh, hold on. We got a good comment here. I love the 40-year-old whites. Yeah, us two 40-year-old whites telling the audience about Kendrick Lamar and Drake and their rap battle, the historic rap battle.
Yeah, this is fucking great. Oh shit! We should probably talk about wrestling. We're 15 minutes into the show.
Yeah, we did our best. We did our best voices of wrestling impression.
Yeah, that was JD. That was JD and Mike doing Joe and Rich, if I've ever heard it.
Well, yeah, but they would be like, it'd be an hour in, and they're still talking about like the Mets from 1976.
Yeah, they pull out some stuff that I'm like, I have no idea what these two are talking about frequently when it comes to like baseball. And I thought I paid attention to baseball, and I realized I don't know shit about baseball. When Lanza starts talking, I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like these guys study baseball. Like I've never.
Yeah, they go deep.
Yeah, they get the deep baseball references. But hey, guys, thank you for being here.
They like us.
We are indeed a pro wrestling podcast, but I've never gone live immediately after the Super Bowl before, so I'm like, how can I go live and not talk about the Super Bowl? Like you gotta talk about it. So
Was Taylor Swift there? How many times did they cut to Taylor Swift tonight?
I only saw her once and she got booed. And then they cut to Donald Trump and he got cheered. And I'm like, what a timeline we're in where Donald Trump is a babyface and Taylor Swift's a heel.
Give it a while.
To the majority of the audience. And Vince and Shane O'Mac and Undertaker were there too, but the camera didn't cut to those guys. But they were in the crowd.
Vince has got some time on his hands.
Yeah.
Should be doing time on his hands, but we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. Well, so as far as the update on that goes, we don't really have an update on the Vince case. So, but next time we do, we'll go ahead and discuss it. But we do have a little bit of update. I want to just get this out of the way because we have some other things to talk about. But the lawsuit for the Ring Boy scandal is back on.
Mm-hmm.
There were people that thought that maybe it was going to go away because of the statute of limitations in Maryland, but that is back on. It's moving forward and it's potentially impacting things going forward. I think the biggest impact is going to be Linda McMahon and her hearing coming up to be the Secretary of Education, which at this point is just a figurehead spot anyway. They're going to destroy that whole division, so we don't need to get into political stuff. But it's like, oh, I'm gonna get hired on for a division of the federal government that's likely not going to exist in 6 months. But she has to go to a Senate confirmation hearing, and I get the feeling the Democrats on that side are going to bring this story up, and so that could shine another light on the scandal going forward. Unless, of course, they figure out a way to settle it before the hearing, and I don't think they're going to.
No, it's like I don't think it's going to matter. One, the Department of Education is. I don't want to talk about it. I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
Two. Who's going to vote against him? Like the Republicans are so scared of Trump right now. They're not. I mean, like big control the Senate. It's going to be.
Yeah. Well, they got the majority, and they're not going to. Yeah. They're going to vote for her, so it's not going to be a big deal. But at least the Democrats will bring up this story in the hearing, and that's going to shed a bigger light on it. And so once that happens, I get the feeling BJ Bethel's done some great reporting on this. I get the feeling he'll dig into the story more, and we'll have some more we'll have some more news to talk about as relates to the story. But all we have right now is that it's back on. So there you go. WWE made some more news this week. They released, I think 10. They released 10 people starting on, I believe, Thursday or Friday. No, actually 11 if you go back to Tuesday. So Duke Hudson, NXT star, really good. I think he's kind of a first-round draft pick that just never really panned out. And so he might be a good reclamation project for an AEW, or I would say TNA would be a good spot for him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Given their history of rehabbing guys like W. Morrissey, Steve Macklin, Drew McIntyre, a lot of the guys that have gone through that system over there, they went to TNA, lower profile, got to take some chances on their characters, got a lot of promo time. I think that would be a good landing spot for him, but he's a pretty good talent. I think somebody should take a chance on him.
He's sold, right?
Yeah.
He's stuck in NXT for a long time. Like, he's not bad by any stretch of imagination. Just didn't work there.
Yeah, didn't work. Sonya Deville, she'd been with WWE since 2015. Wow, 10 years.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, was released this week. She returned recently from her injury in May 2024. Formed the faction Pure Fusion Collective with Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. And she was actually in the Royal Rumble last week, and she got released. With her, I don't think she sticks with wrestling, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think she'll be doing some other internet content type of stuff. And she came in. I remember when she came in, and she was working this MMA fighter gimmick, but she wasn't really an MMA fighter. And then they signed Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, and Jessamyn Duke, who actually had fights, and Marina Shafir. Now, Jessamyn Duke and Marina Shafir were not good fighters. Shayna actually was. She was an OG women's MMA. And then she comes in with the gimmick, and she had a job for 10 years, but she was exposed pretty fast. But not a bad worker, not a great worker, but just somebody that's been in the company for a long time, and they realized that they had gotten everything out of her that they can get out of her.
Decent promo. She did a decade there. I mean, like, realistically, especially if you're a female talent, you can pull 10 years out of that company. That's pretty impressive. It doesn't happen very often. So, yeah. But no, I'm Tony. I'm not touching her. Like, she's not that good.
No, not that good. Authors of Pain and Paul Ellering.
I forgot they were signed.
This is their second go around. Last time they were released, They started this fake company in Europe. It was a big crypto scam.
That was a work. The whole company
Yeah.
was a work.
Yeah, man. It was just a big crypto scam. It was sponsored by some crypto company. They built it up, and then the whole thing just went away. And a lot of the wrestlers that signed on for that never got paid for their deposits. They never got anything. And the company just went away. Next thing you know, authors are paying her back into the WWE, even though they have heat with a ton of wrestlers for getting ripped off. And so I was surprised that they made it back into the WWE. When they were in NXT and their run, I thought they were a good tag team. I actually liked Authors of Pain. I was like, wow, these guys are pretty cool. But when they got released, they didn't do anything. They weren't working indies. They weren't doing any type of smaller shows, anything like that. It was like WWE or bust for them. They ended up getting hired back, and they couldn't win Triple H back over. He was there. Like, he was a big proponent of them, which is why they got brought back. Because Vince fired them first. Triple H takes over. He brings them back immediately. And then he just couldn't figure out what to do with them, and now they're completely gone. And I don't think they're ever coming back
because they weren't that good and they didn't have much heart. Like, they could have been really great. Like, that push, they got a monster push in NXT, as did the Ascension. So I mean, like, it's hard not to get over in front of this Full Sail crowd back then when you were just murdering everybody. But they got up there and they really didn't like wrestling all that much. It was pretty obvious.
Yeah, and I believe one of them was actually a former MMA fighter too. Fought God, I can't remember which one, but he fought Brandon Vera on one of the shows. But yeah, so they're gone. Paul Ellering's gone. I mean, his daughter works for Ring of Honor. Like, I like Paul Ellering. Like, anytime I can see him on TV, I'm happy. But I don't see anybody. I mean, he's in his mid-70s, right? Yeah. So he's not going anywhere.
He's had a great career. So you know, Paul Ellering, man, I love Paul, man. The Legion of Doom with him cutting promos, so that was great shit.
Yep. Blair Davenport, she was also released. She was part of NXT UK. The formerly known as B. Priestley, Will Ospreay's ex-girlfriend. She did a bunch of time in Japan, and she did a little time in New Japan too, actually.
She did a little time in AEW as well. She was assigned, she was the first AEW talent to defect to WWE.
Really?
Trivia question.
I thought she was an AEW like dark level talent. I didn't think that was she on TV?
She was really? She was signed and got released during the pandemic, and then she was an original member of United Empire, and then her and Will broke up, and she signed with WWE, and Will kind of went through his little spiral and wound up coming out the better place with Alex Windsor. Seems like a much happier person now.
Yeah.
And you know, she got her dream job in WWE and got cut because she really wasn't that great either. So, you know.
Yeah. I remember seeing her, like, I'll watch some like random like stardom matches every now and then. I thought that she had some talent. I didn't really see much of her stuff in WWE because she just never really did much.
There's a reason.
Yeah. So she's probably somebody that I don't see AEW going for her. Now, people think that AEW wouldn't touch her because that's Will's ex. I don't think that would be a problem. They probably wouldn't touch her because maybe she just doesn't fit in the company.
I think they might not touch her because she bailed on him the first time.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, they released her during the pandemic, right?
I believe that's what the case. I believe they released her because she was stuck in the UK and couldn't go anywhere. So I think they released some of those people like, hey man, you can't work. Go ahead. But I do think there's some bad, like I know she gave Britt Baker a concussion in one of their first pay-per-views.
Okay.
So I think there's some heat in the company with her to begin with. And well, let's be honest, it's not like Will Ospreay not to get somebody he doesn't like booked.
Yeah, he does have that reputation.
So
so does she. She was a part of that, right? Like she was part of the whole story.
Yeah, she was. So you know, it's probably best for everybody if she don't get touched. She'll probably wind up in Stardom again or something like that. Or
I could see her going back to Japan for a while. I think they liked her in Japan. She was just trying to like. I mean, look, we have to realize that 95% of all wrestlers, their dream is to go to the WWE. If they're from North America or even the UK, if they're Japanese or Mexican, their dream is probably their home promotions there. But everybody outside of that, they're all their dreaming is about getting to the WWE. And so she got to go live her dream, but it just didn't really work out. IO Production says she was decent at NXT UK. I challenge you to name an episode of NXT UK. Any episode. I don't think anybody's ever watched it. So
I think our old Paul Fontaine probably watched every episode of NXT UK.
Yeah,
that's the only person I know that would have done that.
He probably has the Excel spreadsheet of like match number 7 of Blair Davenport and like what he gave a star rating. Yeah. And Isla Dawn, she was NXT UK. She was actually one of the WWE Tag Team Champions recently. Her and Alba Fire defeated Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill on a UK show, Clash of the Castle, and they immediately flipped it back because it was like from Scotland, so they just switched the title over there. So they flipped the titles back to Bianca and Jade, and we didn't really see much of them after that. And now Isla Dawn is gone. She's actually got some talent. I could see her getting picked up by somebody.
Yeah, she got a good look, so I could see someone picking her up. I could see her TNA specifically. I think this would be a good place for her.
Yeah, I don't know what TNA is like if they're going to be picking up a lot of people or not. They just had a battle royal on their show. The same week the WWE had a Royal Rumble, TNA decides to have a women's battle royal, a knockouts battle royal with 8 knockouts, which represented 85% of the entire division.
What better way to tell your fan base that you are subservient to the WWE than just running their playbook at a quarter of their playbook, actually?
Yeah, well, they didn't do the Rumble part of it. Yeah, they just did it.
Like I'm just being a dick.
It was the worst goddamn match I've ever seen. In fact, it was so bad. It was so bad. I sent Joe Lanza a message and I was like, Joe, you got to watch this match, and it's got to be in consideration for your worst match of the year, because he's actually got like a running like log of the worst matches he's watching all year, and it's like this one's got to be right up there. Like you gotta watch this one. Norbert says Isla Dawn has heat with Tesla. Yeah, I did hear about that.
Who doesn't have heat?
Yeah. So it's like at this point, if you can't work with people you don't like, then maybe the job's not for you. But and eventually you got to just be professionals, right? If you don't like somebody, you just got to figure out how to work with them anyway. Unless of course you feel like they're going to assault you or hurt you in any way. But if you just don't like who they are and they were mean to you back in the day, you guys got to figure it out. You got to be adults, right? And I said this yesterday on Brace for Impact. Look, I'm not a big champion of Tessa doing whatever. I just don't think that she should have been canceled for as long as she was. That's my only thing about it. I don't think she's going to continue pulling those shenanigans right now because she's on her last chance. And if she does, like, fucking get rid of her. But if you want a job, some jobs are going to have people that you don't like in them, and you just have to deal with it.
Just like the rest of us.
Yeah. Like I go to work regularly, and there's like, not in the current office I'm in, but back in my old office, there's like 3 or 4 people I just can't stand. Right. But then I see them in the hallway. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Shake their hands. If they need anything, if they need a project work on, if they need help with anything, I'm like, that's the job. You still do it because you're a professional. Same thing in professional wrestling. And that's one of the things that, I feel like AEW has a problem with. Like, they would just, like, if you have heat with somebody, it's like, let's just suspend you, and then we'll give everybody the silent treatment, and we're just not going to work together. And it's like, that's not really a good way to do business.
Yeah. Healthy environment. Like when you run it like that, I will never understand why they handle stuff. It's so passive aggressive and non-confrontational, the way they do business with things like that over there. It's unreal. Yeah.
One of the surprising cuts, which I guess I probably shouldn't have been surprised, is Cedric Alexander. He's a really talented guy. He's 35 years old, though. He's been in WWE a long time. I think he's another 10-year guy. And he was back in NXT. He'd been kind of going back and forth between NXT and the main roster. He was on 205 Live for a while. They never really got behind the guy. He was in the Hurt business at one point. So a lot of people are pointing towards the Hurt Syndicate. Maybe he should join up there.
I could see it.
Yeah, I could see that too. I kind of like the Hurt Syndicate doing what they're doing as a tag team, though.
I do too. I don't think having a third would be bad, especially in a company that likes to, at one point anyway, thought it was like to promote trio stuff. And I think Cedric's work style fits in really good with the AEW house style. So I don't hate that move, actually. It's of all these releases, I think he's the one you pick up.
He's the only guy that I think that they should pick up if they want to. Now, there's probably a little bit of residual heat there between him and Tony Khan from the whole Big Swole situation years ago.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. But again, if you're a professional, you got to be willing to work with people that you might not like. Now, he came after the guy's wife.
Yeah.
Pretty stiff, but she accusing Tony Khan of being a racist was not cool. And the way he replied was pretty fucking uncool.
The whole thing was kind of fucked up, actually. Like, it was on New Year's Eve, very clearly. I don't know. It was it's not like Swole has worked anywhere since being released. You know? So I don't think he was wrong, but I don't think you say that. So I forgot about that. So maybe Cedric doesn't come to WWE.
Yeah, I think that would be the barrier, but they got to if so, they got to squash that, and Tony would have to be the bigger man there because He was probably the most wrong in the situation, and oftentimes the one that's replying, trying to win the argument that escalates the situation is the most wrong. I think you probably, from his perspective, he was defending himself against being called a racist. But what you did when you replied, saying, no, we released her because she's terrible. And that's the story. So years ago, I can't remember what it was, 2021, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. It was announced that Big Swole was released. And then on New Year's Eve, she did a podcast saying that she thought it was that the company was, she got released because she was black, right? And was kind of insinuating that Tony Khan was a racist. So Tony Khan did the whole "I have black friends," which never fucking works.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, Tony Khan is a minority too, so that was his whole thing. Was like, I am a minority. It's a pretty shitty thing to say, but I mean, it doesn't. I think what he ignores the fact that minority people can also be racist. You know, like anybody can be racist.
Like, how can I be racist? I'm a minority. It's like, well, minorities are also racist. There's racism in all walks of life, and so. He so he responded.
I'm not a racist. She's bad.
Yeah, he's like, no, we released her because she sucks. You know, that the whole thing. When now you're admitting that you're a liar because they called her and said we're releasing you because of budget cuts, and so now your company's a liar, and you also have racism allegations, and then now you're a dick because you're saying no, we released her because she sucks. And look, Big Swole wasn't very good. Right. I think everybody can kind of admit that. Like you said, JD, she hasn't worked anywhere since. Right. If you're really good and you get fired, you automatically start getting bookings everywhere. Should you want to take them? And she just never did.
If you're average, you'll start getting bookings everywhere. But yeah, it just didn't work out.
Especially coming off of AEW television at the time when they were a hot company in 2021. So, Cedric Alexander, I could still see, even regardless of all that, I could still see him being in the Hurt Syndicate. Even though I think the Hurt Syndicate's a complete act, in my opinion. I like Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin being Dr. Death and Terry Gordy. I like that. I like them just killing tag teams. That's cool to me. And I think MVP is an awesome manager. I like the whole act. Yeah. I do. And we got a couple more. Elektra Lopez, I'll be honest, they had to explain to me who that was today, but she's gone. So there you go. And the funniest of them all, which I don't want to laugh at people getting fired, but I did. So, I mean, we're here. The Good Brothers have been fired by WWE once again. And JD, it is time for Tony Khan to right the wrongs of the past. We need to see the reunion with the Good Brothers and Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. They're the ones that take on the Death Riders. I think we all could see it. A Bullet Club reunion from 2013. I think that's the way to go, right? Like, we got to get the Good Brothers back in AEW. I think that's the move, right?
If there's two guys that are really, really good at taking a paycheck and not doing a goddamn thing, it is Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. Yeah. And the fact they signed and they made a big deal, the Good Brothers were coming home and they immediately didn't do jack shit. Like, these are two of the workingest brothers you're ever going to see in your life. Like, what a collection of workers, like traditional workers.
Yeah. Which means they fit in AEW because AEW pays a lot of people to do jack shit. Yes, they have a lot of people on that roster doing jack shit. I think they could be another one of those people.
I would be surprised because remember the Good Brothers were supposed to be on the first episode of Dynamite back in 2019, and then they went, nah, we're not coming, which led to them kind of having to scramble and come up with Jake Hager. Not an upgrade. And then they did the thing with Kenny during the pandemic, which was actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then they went back to WWE. So it's like, if I'm Tony, I'm like, and you see how hard they've worked. Like Carl Anderson got himself in really, really good shape. Like Carl Anderson, when they signed with TNA specifically, got in amazing shape. Yeah. Like jacked to the gills. I mean, like at one point, Good Brothers were an excellent tag team. Like 2015, they were fun in New Japan. I really liked them at that point.
Yeah, me too.
That's 10 years ago, man.
Yeah. So when they signed with TNA back in the day, I thought that was a big deal
at the time, yeah,
because they were, I don't want to say they were over in WWE, but they were an act that people thought that never really got their just due in WWE. Right. Mm-hmm. And they were they were over with the boys, like the wrestlers like them because they're fun. And they are like, they're probably like really cool guys to hang around.
Oh,
right?
I imagine that. Yeah. I imagine that also guys hang out.
Yeah. So they get hired on. They go to TNA and not AEW because of how they burned AEW on the way into WWE, and or I think they were about to leave WWE and they were going to sign with AEW. WWE talked them into re-signing. They ended up going back to WWE, burning AEW on the first episode of Dynamite, and then a year later they got fired anyway. Right. So that was the story. Tony Khan didn't forget that. So when it came time when they were free agents, they went to TNA, and Scott D. Moore paid them a lot of money.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. I don't think I could say it on the air because I don't think it's pub, but I've told you how much they were getting paid.
A lot of money.
A lot. It's like per person, they're being paid. Each individual was getting paid more than everybody in that company.
And this is an era when TNA was Skyway doing just TV tapings at Skyway Studios.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this is not this era of TNA.
Right. And they had worked out a deal with Scott D. Moore, like should they sign another contract, and they were going to sign another contract with TNA, and WWE just came in and swooped them up. But they were going to get $100,000 more a piece on their next contract should they resign.
Whatever.
You guys wonder why Scott D. Moore is no longer the president of TNA? I just he was paying those guys just stupid money. Ooh. And I'll be honest, when they came in, they did bring a little bit of buzz to that company. They brought some the rating spiked a little bit, but then it immediately went down. They had the whole thing with Kenny that was cool, but you can't even count 5 matches for them that they actually had good matches. And then like their last 6 months there, completely phoned it in, and they actually joked about how bad they were phoning it in on the way out. Right. So I don't think any company should be bringing these guys in. They should just go hustle the indies, do Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling in Canada.
Yeah, that's 100%. Like, and they weren't drawing anything at TNA. Again, nothing was really drawing at TNA, but for the amount of money that they were getting paid, like you expect them to get some attention to your company, and that just didn't ever transpire. Like, these are guys that I'm sure I don't know if Kenny would be advocating for the two of them at this point, but he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Right. They are two guys who should not be in TNA or in WWE. They should, like you said, they should just be working indies, MLW, stuff like that.
Japan.
I
can see them going back to Japan.
Yeah, I'm sure Gato welcomes them back. But everybody else should because you're not going to get a good effort out of them at this point. Like, they haven't put good effort in the ring in a long time.
No, they haven't. But man, so I did my whole tweet about the Good Brothers teaming back up with Kenny and the Young Bucks take out the Death Riders. And I was surprised at how many people, A, thought that was serious, but some people just don't understand my humor. And B, how many people agreed with the tweet. I had a lot of people retweeting like, this is a great idea. I was like, I hope you know that I'm just fucking around. I like to pick on AEW fans because they're very sensitive people. And I know that they would just be punching holes in walls, especially after AEW signed Elias.
Holy shit.
I guess they saw how over Joe Hendry got, so now Harley Cameron's singing songs in the middle of the ring, and now Elias is coming into Ring of Honor. They got to capitalize on it. Elias now an AEW contracted wrestler.
I'll say this. He kind of looks like he fits in with Vincent and Dutch.
He does. Yeah.
Like, I saw the picture. I'm like, well, that works better than my first was, God damn it, Tony, you had to do this one. And my second thought was, it actually kind of fits. So, yeah. I mean, it's Ring of Honor. I'm sure he's not getting paid much because he's been on the scrap heap for over a year now. That dude was over at one point. That's crazy. Yeah. But whatever. Who cares? It's Ring of Honor.
Yeah, no, literally no one watches Ring of Honor. So
you can't watch Ring of Honor. It's not a real show.
No one's paying what is it, like $10 a month to watch.
Paying Ring of $10 a month.
Unless you're watching the pay-per-views, and I think the pay-per-views are always pretty good, but
well, Maria Kanellis wanted to really book Ring of Honor, but she's gone now, and now she loves WWE again. So
yeah, that was a wild story that's happened since we last talked. So her contract expired with AEW, and she kind of come out against AEW, which happens a lot when you don't get to stay with that company. And now she's tweeting about how much she loves WWE. She looks like she's trying to get her old gig back. She's been fired twice by them, by the way.
Dude, she did this. Okay, remember in 2016, her and Mike got a huge push in TNA. And then she was like, oh, we love TNA. And then the second she was out the door, she's like, what a joke. Dixie didn't know what she was doing, blah, 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 which is true. But then she went WWE, and then they got treated like dog shit from the moment they walked in there. Yep. Then they got released, and it was WWE, blah, blah, blah. This is just kind of her. Like, It's just Maria. Like, there's a lot of bag, and Mike's still working there. Mike keeps his mouth shut. Mike, good husband, good father, provides for his family, gets a push. He gets a lot of TV time.
Yeah, he's a good worker. He's not a star. He's never going to be a star.
Worker,
but if you need a guy to go out there and work, like him and Matt Taven, and at one point I think people thought I certainly thought Matt Taven could be a star, but he just never reached that level. But him and Matt Taven are a good tag team. They could always go out there and have good matches. They're not going to anchor your division by any means.
No.
But they're like good guys to have around.
Mm-hmm. Kingdom's a fun tag team. Always has been.
Yeah. I liked them when they were in TNA. I thought they were good in TNA, and I was disappointed when they left. And I thought Maria was a good part of that act, but
I agree.
AEW did not like having Maria in that act.
No, and it's weird because I always thought Maria strengthened the act a lot. Like, I liked the Ring of Honor act, and a lot of that was part of Maria. I don't know, Maria being like, kind of the WWE, kind of like the more conniving version of her WWE character. So I guess maybe Tony didn't want to do that kind of thing anymore, because it seemed like she had kind of grown out of it even when she was in WWE. And even in TNA, she'd kind of grown out of the more effective version of the Maria Kanellis character.
Yeah.
Because again, that's 10 years ago. Like, what they were doing with the Kingdom with her a decade ago was pretty good stuff. But I mean, like, she's she's got to be damn close to 40 now. Yeah. So you can't be doing that shit forever. I know, like, people were like really wanted her to book. Like, I think we put way too much credit on her booking the old Ring of Honor women's tournament. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good tournament, and she was part of discovering Roxy, who is now Roxanne Perez, who's probably going to be a big star in WWE. But I mean, like, you got to have like sustained superior performance over time before people will give you a lot of credit for what you're able to do. I get the feeling she was pitching things to the creative team there, and they just didn't like what she had to pitch, so she never got an opportunity.
And that's the thing, though, is we can always go, well, she never got an opportunity, but we don't know what she was pitching. She might have had phenomenal ideas. They might have also been really terrible ideas too. I mean, like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, she might have pitched a bunch of ideas and they didn't like them, so she never got hired on. So like,
and I agree. We need more female voices in pro wrestling. Not going to argue that, but I think that because she has a following and she's got notoriety, we assume that she could be really good at that job. And there's nothing that tells, there's no evidence that tells me that she was this booking mastermind that just was getting held back by the man.
Yeah. Well, she's done a good job of getting herself on a podcast and like tweeting about like how her desire to book. And so people have latched onto that. But like, she would be a good hire. I was like, you don't really know that. Maybe she would be great. I don't know. But I think there's a reason why she hasn't gotten a job. She
is very good at promoting herself.
Yeah.
Always has been. And I guess in pro wrestling specifically, you have to advocate for yourself. But I don't know, man. Calling me suspect. I would not, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm not going to hand off my booking to Maria Kanellis.
Yeah.
No, he should hand his booking off to more people. But I mean, like her, and I'm being a hater. I'll be honest with you. I just haven't seen it.
Yeah. Well, it looks like, and we'll transition over to our last story here. Thank you to everybody for being here. Please give us a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching this on my Twitter account, please retweet. You can comment on there. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. I would greatly appreciate it. And then head over to Patreon. Go to patreon.com/The Mike and JD Show. We're going to have a bunch of content coming up. I did over an hour on TNA just yesterday, Brace for Impact. Got a lot of fun stuff there. I also did last Wednesday. I did my midweek like Raw review / like, since we're doing weekend content now, we go so many days without, because a lot of the news breaks on Monday and Tuesday. So by Sunday, it's old news. So I actually did some like news stuff on Wednesday. I did a podcast in a car, released that, and then that's where I released my Raw reaction show. I've been sticking with Raw. It's it's an easy watch. So now that it's on Netflix, so go ahead and check that out. But AEW, man, they're on a streak right now. They got 3 hits in a row. Last Saturday's Collision, this past week's Dynamite, and then of course last night's Collision, which I have to admit I did not get a chance to watch. But from everything that I'm hearing, I heard it was great, awesome crowd. Maybe they should just move to Texas full time, because like Texas seems to be good crowds for them. But and I think it also coincides with the fact that we've been tough on Tony Khan on this show. Probably to our detriment a little bit, because I think a lot of people get mad at us over this. When I use them on a YouTube thumbnail, it goes crazy, like it's positive. But like our internal camp of like our our fans that have been with us since day one. They get real upset when we're too mean to Tony Khan. So I gotta call spade a spade, and he's gotten his hand back into the booking more from what I hear. And 3 shows in a row looks like they're doing pretty good.
That's what I'm hearing. I missed Dynamite last week just because, I'm pretty much going to be on a break from watching week to week wrestling for another couple weeks until wrestling season ends and I can kind of settle into my normal life again. I just can't stay up. So, but reading results, listening to people that I trust, and talking to John Muse, it seems like things are moving in a positive direction. I'm actually looking forward to watching Grand Slam. That might be my like jumping back into AEW. I think the show looks pretty good on paper. I really do.
Yeah, I think that we should probably watch it this weekend. It's easy to watch because it's on Max, and we both have Max, so we should have it watched before we go live next Sunday, and we'll do like a live recap. It feels weird to do a live recap of a Collision episode, but it is a very special Collision. It's going to be from Australia, but yeah, they're. I mean, it seems like they're on a heater right now, so hopefully Grand Slam is good. Here, I'll look up the card and we can kind of talk about what's going on.
Go ahead, pull up the card. They need to get hot, basically. They need something to kind of catch. Like, they're not going to catch WWE for a long time.
No.
And that's fine. They don't have to. I look at this as kind of like 93 WCW, and they just need something to draw some interest. And like a year or so down the line, maybe you do get hot again. Maybe you are able to reinvigorate stuff. But right now, you just gotta lessen the bleeding a little bit. And like, we've been hurting ourselves for a while, so maybe stuff starts getting hot. Maybe things can change. Mike, what do you got?
Yeah. So here's what we got lined up for Grand Slam. Like JD said, it is a pretty stacked show. We have probably what's going to be the main event is Mariah May versus Timeless Tony Storm.
I have no interest, but they're going to eat it up in the crowd.
Yeah. We're gonna get the big payoff there, and the local girl is very likely to get her title back. So and I thought they had a really good match at All In last year. I thought that match was great. So
I agree.
Yeah. Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega versus Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke Takeshita.
That's gonna
which
rule.
Is a Dave Meltzer thirst trap. They're gonna hit every single move in their arsenal and then some, and they're gonna kick out of them all, and it's gonna be great. The crowd's gonna eat it up. I'm gonna eat it up. I'm very much looking forward to this match.
Dear Joe and Rich on the flagship pitched the idea to open the Grand Slam show with this match, specifically after the slam dunk cut in and the crowd's chanting Ospreay. I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Who do you think is going to win? I mean, like, Kyle Fletcher's the heel, but he's local. So it's like, does he win? Or do you go with Kenny? Kenny's returning. I think he's going to win, right?
I think Kenny and Will, because I think Will is not from Australia, but Will spent a ton of time in Australia. Yeah. So Will's got his own roots down to that company, and Fletcher's a heel. I think you got to go with the home. I think you got to go with the baby faces here.
Yeah. Kazuchika Okada versus Buddy Matthews. Buddy, another local, probably losing, but the match should be really good because Buddy is just a more jacked replica of a Kenny Omega cosplayer, and Kazuchika Okada always has his best matches with Kenny Omega. So
this is true. I think the match is going to be really good. I think they're starting to do something with the rechristened House of Black. What are we calling them? The Hounds of Hell.
Hounds of Hell. Name. Yeah.
Yeah, I dig that. I think we start getting behind Brody and Buddy as a tag team a little bit. So I think this is something that could lead to that. Like maybe if I'm booking, I'm gonna have the Bucks make their comeback, and now you start someone with the Bucks and the Hounds. Personally,
well, I mean that would be an excellent match because two great tag teams, and I really do think they should get behind them as a tag team. And they're baby faces now, so I think that would work. I think that would work great.
I think it should listen to me.
Yeah,
do that.
I think the show falls off a cliff here. Jay White and Cope versus Death Riders, Moxley and Claudio in a Brisbane brawl. Now, what is the difference between a Brisbane brawl and a Chicago street fight and a Philly street fight?
Where it takes place?
Just the name of the location. Yeah, it's just going to be a lot of brawling. But you know what? Mox is a great brawler, so I think they'll have a good match.
He's Terry Funk. He's the best modern brawler in the world. Like, it'll be fine. And Jay White's good at this kind of stuff. Cope, they protect some of his weakness, not weaknesses in the term, but some of his holdbacks. We'll say. I think it'll be a fine match. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna set up more Cope versus Mox, which is gonna be good. I think.
Yeah, and then we got Mercedes Moné versus one Harley Cameron. Harley Cameron, who won her first match on TV last week. So
Harley's over.
She is big time. Yeah.
Like,
She's great.
and she is great. We've been talking about this for 2 years. You and I have been talking about Harley Cameron since the icon. What are they? What do they call the Iconics?
Inspiration.
Inspiration.
Yeah.
Since the Inspiration intro video in TNA, I remember being like, who is this? Like, and that's Harley Cameron.
She's a star.
Yeah, the woman's got talent. Like, I knew she was a good singer back then. I had no idea how funny she was and how like legitimately talented she is. Like, she's gotten over.
She can do ventriloquism. Like, I've never seen like a professional singer also have a ventriloquist dummy, a Mercedes Monet puppet. Like, she's a puppeteer. She can do comedy. She can do skits. It's like what a well-rounded performer.
She's like one of pro wrestling's best kept secrets.
Yeah.
Like, she's insanely over, and she's Australian, correct?
I think so, yeah. So yeah, I think that's why they're having the match.
I think she's got to go over. And then this thing is Mercedes can get her Mercedes can get her belts back. But I think just for a fun moment, I kind of think you got to put Harley over.
I don't think you're wrong. But Mercedes Moné doesn't put anybody over unless she gets hurt. And so
But Mercedes is smart about shit. She might see that she could actually have something on pay-per-view in a return match with her. Like, Mercedes is not a dumb person.
No,
like, you can't squash everybody all the time.
No, but like, I don't think that they will. I don't think they'll put over Harley Cameron, unfortunately. But I see where you're going with it. I think that it would be a good idea, and then I think you just move Mercedes to Tony Storm, right?
I think that's the move, quite frankly. Yeah. I think you take that because you can let Mercedes keep all the other belts. You can have tons of shenanigans, right? Because Harley's character lends to shenanigans, right? So you can have a super fucked finish. Mercedes Hogan ain't losing. I think
that doesn't work for her, brother.
What's the biggest match the women's division in AEW has? And it's Mercedes versus Tony.
Yeah.
And Mercedes doesn't need the TBS title. She's got all those other belts. So you can have that with Harley, even for just a hiccup. Right? I think that's what you want to go with.
Yeah, you could wipe your ass with those titles. They don't mean anything. But the only title that means anything in that company is the world title.
Agreed.
She's got the secondary championship, and then she's got a bunch of indie titles from.
But that's what gives her the flexibility to do something like this. Yeah. Because ultimately, if she loses who cares if she loses the TBS title to Harley? If you move right into it, because we have to end this Tony Storm Mariah May thing after this. It's been going on forever. Let's move on. It's been fine. Let's move on, and then you can really do something interesting with Tony Storm and Mercedes' characters.
Yeah, I think Mercedes and Tony for All In is where you go. Our old friend Bix is back. He says Harley Cameron is like Amy Poehler, Sherry Martel, Trish Stratus, and Christina Aguilera had a mutant baby.
that is the most apropos comparison of a professional wrestler I've ever heard. And it's totally accurate. Like I said, she's insanely talented.
She is. And you know what? What I like about her is she's a self-starter and she's working hard to get herself over. And because like she's talented at a lot of different things, but I don't think she's great at any one thing. Right?
Master of all trades. Or jack of all trades. Jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah, for sure.
So she's just using the talent that she has in certain areas to get herself over and doing things differently than everybody else is doing them. While I see other people in that company resting on their laurels, being waiting to be told what to do. Agreed. She's creating her own content, doing her own stuff, getting herself over. And I think that people like that should be rewarded. And the TBS title is a secondary title, right? Mm-hmm. And she's a secondary act that has gotten herself over. I think you have to reward people like that, right? That are out there hustling, getting your brand out there and working hard when you don't really have, like, I would take 1,000 Harley Camerons on my roster if I could.
All day. You know? She's come so far from being, remember, because it's like, oh, she was the hot chick in the QTV segments.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, hey, that's a good looking woman in those segments. And to see how far she's come as a character on her own ability, like she's legitimately funny. Yes. Like a lot of times, like what's written as pro wrestling funny is just, stupid, knee slap humor. And she's like actually funny. Like I think they didn't do enough to push Willow when she got legitimately over. Mm-hmm. They need to push Harley, who's gotten over on her own, and don't be Vince and don't say, well, this doesn't fit into the plan. Yeah. Like ride it out, man. It's working. And you're going to be in Australia. Let it happen.
I always say don't copy WWE, but I'm going to say copy WWE in this sense. They got really behind Jey Uso and he got over because of what? His entrance and his catchphrase, right? It is organically over.
Mhm.
And the guy is over huge, and people are going to be so into his WrestleMania match. It's not even funny.
Mhm.
He had over 65,000 people at the Royal Rumble just going crazy last week. This
Mhm.
guy is hugely over. I think you have an opportunity with Harley Cameron, another limited performer when it comes to bell to bell. And Bix makes a good point, but she's absurdly good in the ring for someone with less than 70 matches.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm saying. She shouldn't be as nearly as good as she is. Like, she's so adaptable.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. It astounds me how quickly she takes to just about everything. Like, she's got legitimate real star potential. They got to do something. They got to pull a trigger on this. Like, you got an opportunity here. Like, don't. And I think Mercedes is smart enough to see the forest from the trees. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. We got just a couple more AEW notes and then a couple WWE notes, and then we'll send it home. Soraya's AEW contract expires. This is from the Observer in September 2025. I was shocked that she had resigned because she wasn't doing much. But I think Tony's just like he's just like a super nice dude, and that's his friend. That's kind of the way I take that.
Tony's a nice guy.
Yeah. Megan Bain has signed a contract with AEW.
I like her.
What's that?
I like her. I've always been a fan. I think she's got a great, like, that Amazon look, right?
Yeah.
She's really talented. I think she's done when they could have something with a year or so down the line. Like, I think that's a good sign for them.
I agree. We already talked about Elias in WWE. He goes by Elijah now, which is weird because that's my son's name. And upcoming, here's the updated card for Revolution. This is per the Observer. Moxley versus Copeland, likely. And man, never mind. This thing messed up. I was reading the wrong thing. My bad.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. as I was, everybody, as I was. You know what? I don't think I have anything else. Yeah. Oh, there's a new Evolve show. WWE is reviving Evolve as a weekly show on Tubi, airing Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. head to head with AEW Dynamite. Coincidence?
No. It's no one's gonna watch Evolve. Like, no. It's fine. What is it gonna be?
It is Gabe Sapolsky booking WWE ID talent and indie talent, and they're doing it from the PC.
So it is Evolve.
It's just their way of, like, it's like a recruiting tool. It is going to be, since NXT is no longer, like, people still call it a developmental, but it really is just another TV show for them.
It's like AA ball at this point. Not even AA ball. I don't even know how you compare it, because it isn't anymore. It's on its own TV network. It's just
it's
unique,
AAA.
it's unique unto itself. Yeah. I guess
because main roster stars get called. Big leaguers get called down to AAA all the time. So yeah, it's AAA, and then, like, Evolve is going to be like single A. Right. Mm-hmm. These are people probably never been on TV before getting their first opportunity, which I think is weird.
Remember Court Bauer getting mad about, because we just saw in the chat, Transferring It says Fox owns Tubi. Remember Court Bauer getting mad about WWE squashing the MLW show on Tubi?
Yeah. I don't know that this has anything to do with that.
Me neither, but I'm talking to Mike Gilbert, king of the conspiracy theorists. I'm just throwing something out there.
Yeah, I would like to think that they were not working on this for like a year and a half, because it seemed like it was thrown together recently. They were actually gonna, like, if they didn't get on Tubi, they were just gonna put it on YouTube. This kind of was what the story was out there. But I do think it's funny that they're putting it up against Dynamite for literally no reason other than just to do it, just to tweak AEW just a little bit, because there's the big rivalry.
Yeah, it's a real rivalry. It still exists. Don't anyone tell you different.
Yeah. Hold on. IO Production says Philly is so crowded right now.
I believe
is he in Philly? Why are you listening to the show if you're in Philly? Why are you commenting? Like, you should be partying right now.
No. Don't listen to him. Thank you for listening to the show. Send us a super chat.
Yeah. Send us. Yeah, do that. And Transferring, he says Fox owns Tubi. Yeah. So I think Fox is not out of the pro wrestling business. I think they're going to add another show eventually. I just don't think it's going to be AEW Shockwave. I know that has kind of died out. So I think they're going to do something.
I think that would have been announced by now. Something happened at some point that killed that.
Yeah. But that was all the stories that I had. So we're gonna go ahead and call it. I just got the hook. I just got the hook from my boss.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to roll out. So thanks everybody for being here. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Head over to
Bix got one comment. Bix got one comment, and put this.
Okay, we'll let Bix get the last word tonight. So does Tubi even have specific linear channel? Evolve will be on at 8, or will it just go on VOD at 8? I think it's going to be like a linear type thing, because they do have linear channels. I just don't know what it's going to be. I think it's going to be like if you're a subscriber to Tubi, which I am. It's a free service. I think it'll just pop up on your thing, and like as soon as you log in at 8, it'll probably just be the first thing that you see. That's what I would assume. But I don't know. Because they have like fast networks, the free available stream, whatever they call it, fast. They have those, so I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be.
Me either.
Yeah.
All right.
So
you're about to get in trouble, so we got to bail out.
I got to roll out. We did it 1 hour exactly. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us this weekend. Until next time, mahalo.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. Made no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This is an A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. Made no rain.